Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the best parts of Hollowed, figuring out which weapon matches your vibe. Let's be real, experimenting with different classes and weapons in this game is half the fun. Whether you're a melee maniac or a ranged rogue, there's a weapon out there that just clicks with your playstyle. But here's the kicker. Some weapons, they're straight up MVPs no matter what. Others, well, let's just say they might make you question your life choices. In this video, I'll break down the best weapons in Hollowed and rank them based on how versatile and effective they are across the board. Sure, your class abilities might spice things up, but some weapons, they're just built different. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's talk about what's worth picking up and what's better left in the loot pile. Let's jump in. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking weapons in Hollowed. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
A very small portion of the audience is subscribed to the channel. Please don't forget to subscribe if you like these types of videos. Thanks.
The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Cestus and Staff. The cursed joy of C-tier Hollowed weapons. You know, those weapons you pick up, try out, and then quietly put back down while muttering, maybe it's just not my style. Let's dive into two absolute classics in this tier, Cestus and Staff. Spoiler alert, one of them is more like a spell-slinging cheat code, but we're strictly talking weapon use here, so buckle up and let's break down why these two are hanging out in the C-tier lounge. First up, the Cestus, the beloved yet frustratingly stubby member of the Bolt class. Look, I get it. There's something hilariously satisfying about punching your way through enemies like you're in a medieval boxing match. But let's face it, the Cestus has the worst range in the entire game. If you're not practically hugging your enemy, you're not hitting them. Sure, Bolt skills give you some cool mobility tricks, and pulling off a stylish dash punch combo feels great, but when there are other weapons with longer reach, higher damage, or just better utility, the Cestus starts feeling like that weird appetizer nobody ordered at the feast. And then we have the Staff, which honestly feels like it's crashing this party with a massive asterisk on its name tag. Let's be real, if we're talking pure melee combat, the Staff is, well, it's a glorified stick. Smacking enemies with it is like trying to win a sword fight with a pool noodle. It's not going to end well. But if we pivot to spellcasting, oh honey, the Staff is chef's kiss perfection. It's the bread and butter for magic users, elevating it to S tier in that category. But for this conversation, strictly weapons, it's just here so we can laugh a little. Now, don't get me wrong, both of these weapons have their moments. The Cestus can make for some wild plays if you're a daredevil who loves close combat and thrives on chaos. And the Staff, okay, it's a bit useless for melee, but if you're the kind of player who's all about magic, you'll still keep it close like a treasured family heirloom. These weapons do have value, they're just niche, really niche. At the end of the day though, the Hollowed arsenal is full of options that overshadow these two, but that's what makes the C tier interesting, right? These weapons force you to think outside the box or, at the very least, give you some amusing, I can't believe that worked moments. And hey, sometimes you just want to punch an enemy with a tiny gauntlet or whack them with a magic wand while giggling about how ridiculous it is. That's the true charm of C tier weapons. They're here for a good time, not a long time. The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, spear and dagger and flintlock. Alright, let's talk about some weapons that are like the weird kids in class. You know, the ones who sit in the corner doodling but turn out to be artistic geniuses once you actually pay attention. That's the B tier Hollowed weapons for you. They're good, but only if you're willing to put in the work and figure them out. Let's dive in. First up, the spear. Now, listen, I want to love the spear. I really do. It should be the king of range, right? Like, it's a spear. But no, the range is embarrassingly short. It's like showing up to a marathon with flip-flops. Disappointing and awkward. The moveset focuses more on slashing and spinning rather than thrusting, so it barely beats fist weapons and daggers. Even the greatsword, sword, and axe laugh at its range and damage output. That said, if you're a dimensional knight hyper main and have mastered the spear, it can slap. You just need patience. A lot of patience. Now let's talk about the dagger and flintlock combo. On paper, this pairing sounds awesome, especially since the flintlock technically has the best range in the game. But there's a catch, you actually have to aim, and in PvP, aiming under pressure, yeah, good luck with that. It leaves you wide open to anyone who's remotely good at closing the gap. If they get close, you're probably getting stun locked into oblivion. That being said, this combo shines in PvE, where you can pick enemies off like a sniper in a Hollywood action scene. In PvP, you better be a movement god or an ambush master, otherwise it's game over. So, why are these weapons still B tier? Because they're fun. They reward creativity and skill. The spear is great if you're into flashy spins and want to show off, and the dagger and flintlock are perfect for players who love precision and mind games. They're not pick up and dominate weapons, but that's kind of the charm. It's like training a dog that knows cool tricks but refuses to fetch. Frustrating but rewarding. If you're up for the challenge, these weapons can easily perform better than their tier suggests. But if you're just looking for easy wins, maybe stick with something higher up the tier list, otherwise get ready for some serious practice sessions. The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: dagger, sword, dual swords, and claws. Alright, let's get into the meat of it. A tier hollowed weapons, the ones that make you feel like a legend if you've got the skill to wield them properly. These weapons are reliable, versatile, and can turn the tide of any fight, but they demand finesse. Ready? Let's break it down. First up, the dagger. I'll be honest, this daggers and I don't always vibe. They're short range, and you really have to get up close and personal to make them work. But here's the twist: slap the Raven Hyperclass onto this bad boy, and you're a mobile menace. The speed and mobility are unmatched, and you can practically M1 chain someone to tears. If you're precise and have good positioning, you'll be a nightmare to deal with. This weapon is A tier now, but with the Raven, it's knocking on S tier's door. Now, let's talk about the sword, or should I say dual swords when you pair it with sliced. This one's the all-rounder of the bunch. It doesn't excel in one area, but it combines solid speed, range, and damage to give you that sweet first hit advantage. Dual wielding, it adds a layer of chaos that's honestly so much fun. Pair it with bloodshed, and you've got a build that's risky but oh so rewarding when you pull it off. Think of it as the Swiss Army knife of weapons. It just gets the job done. Alright, let's throw some love at the claws, but only if you're into PvP. Look, these things have the shortest range out of the A tiers, so you've got to be on your toes. But when you nail that lunge attack from the operator, it's not operator, it's game over for your opponent. That lunge lets you set up these brutal, high damage combos that make you feel unstoppable. Honestly, if PvP is your playground, the claws deserve all the respect they get. Just don't bring them to a PvE fight, you'll regret it. One thing I love about these weapons is how they force you to play smart. With daggers, it's all about movement and timing. With the sword, you've got to balance aggression with precision. And with claws, it's high risk, high reward. You can't just mash buttons here, folks. These weapons demand skill, and that's what makes them so satisfying to use. And let's not forget the adaptability of these weapons. The dagger's mobility makes it perfect for unpredictable fights. The sword's versatility lets you mix and match playstyles. And the claws, they'll reward you for creativity and aggression in PvP like nothing else. They're not just tools, they're extensions of your strategy. But hey, let's not sugarcoat it. These aren't weapons you pick up and master overnight. They take practice. You've got to be patient, learn their ins and outs, and commit to honing your craft. But once you do, oh man, the payoff is so worth it. So, which one's your favorite? Are you a dagger-wielding shadow, a dual sword slasher, or a clawed terror in the arena? Let me know down below. And if you're still on the fence about which to try, just remember, A-tier weapons are about skill, not shortcuts. So get out there and show everyone what you've got. The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: greatsword, chain scythe, and axe. Alright, let's talk about the weapons in Hollowed that will make you feel unstoppable. These aren't just your average swords and axes, we're diving into the cream of the crop, the S-tier weapons. Whether you're dungeon crawling or flexing in PvP, these bad boys are your ticket to domination. So, let's jump in and break down why these weapons are as good as it gets. Spoiler alert, you're going to want to pick one up ASAP. First up, the greatsword. Now, this thing is as a beast. It's got the best damage, the best range, and honestly, it's just the weapon to have if you want to crush everything in your path. Pair it with a hybrid spec into a more mobile class, and you're not just powerful, you're fast. Dungeon clearing? Easy. PvP? Say goodbye to your opponents? Plus, with the judge class skills backing it up, the greatsword is basically a cheat code with a blade. Next, we've got the chain scythe. If you're into stylish combat and making your enemies cry, this is your weapon. The chain scythe is all about stun locking your opponents with those endless M1 attacks. What makes it extra spicy though is the range and speed it packs. You're not just hitting hard, you're hitting fast and from a distance. It's the ultimate weapon for those of us who like to keep the pressure on and never let the enemy catch their breath. Now, let's not forget about the axe. I know what you're thinking. The axe? Really? But hear me out. Don't underestimate this so-called base class weapon. The axe shines in its ability to chain M1 attacks with some of the highest damage output in the game. And if you're running the Executioner class, the damage skills it brings to the table are just brutal. It might not have the finesse of the scythe or the flexibility of the greatsword, but it's a heavy hitter that gets the job done, and then some. So, there you have it. The greatsword, the chain scythe, and the axe. 3 weapons, 3 paths to absolute domination in Hollowed. Whether you want to slice through dungeons like butter, keep your enemies stun locked, or just hit like a truck, these are the weapons to look out for. What's your pick? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to drop a like if this helped you decide what to grind for next. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.